and welcome to another episode of Spiritual Tea with Teja Priyadarshini. I'm here with Petra Neumueller, and she is a very dear friend. She's also a New Earth mentor. She is also the Divine Feminine Mystic. She is a QHHT practitioner. She also does a whole lot of other different healing modalities, and she's also the voice of the Sofia Collective. Welcome to the show, Petra. So nice to have you here.
Thank you so much, Teja. I'm so happy to be here. And I am so happy to hear you pronounce my name. I know that is a challenge. The German language is a challenge.
I hope I got it correct. And
you're great.
Let's just get into it because, so we're here today because you do something called the Initiation Chamber, which is one of the most fascinating things I have, experienced with you. And I wanted people to know about the Initiation Chamber and, the history of the Initiation Chamber, how it all came about and, how you received the information about it and basically everything about the Initiation Chamber. So let's just start with, what is the Initiation Chamber?
That's a really good question. It took me about 2 years to grasp the concept myself because it's something that evolved with time and with me and my frequency level and my level of consciousness. It all started in a QHHT session that I had myself, where I asked for healing, and in the healing itself, I was taken into a chamber. It was a virtual experience. I had it. It sounds kind of cheesy, but it felt more real than this hologram that we're part of. Yeah. I found myself in a sarcophagus, receiving healing from the Ascended Master Serapis Bey, who's been my guide for many years. And I was told when I was in there that this was a space that I had been working in previous lifetimes. That's all I got. And I thought, okay. And from then on, in my sessions and my individual sessions with clients, when I was looking at their energy fields, they started to say things like, oh, I find myself like my back is, it's cold a little bit. I find myself on stone. Like I think I'm laying on something stony. Oh, that's like a hall. So they had this virtual experience as well. Totally unprepared. Me, totally unprepared. I was like, what is happening here? And so it started to evolve that way. And with time, I recognized that the chamber might not necessarily be, that place where everyone has this virtual visual experience. It is more like it's a frequency that I hold. It is the space that I hold where something can happen. I belong to a very old mystical tradition, and my training has been very much focused on making myself empty. That is my true strength. I can make myself empty and completely push my ego aside and just be and hold space. And the space that you hold, it can be very powerful. A lot of transformation, can happen, and a lot of love can flow in that space. And so that is how I explain it to myself.
Okay. So it's not like an actual chamber. It's just something that people can go into through a process?
Yes and no. The process is always there, but it can be an actual chamber for some people. It is an actual chamber for me. So when I take you into the chamber, I see it. I open the doors, I go in there. It is a space to me. It always looks the same. And many people have had, as you you've had this visual experience as well. And quite often, when people go in there, they have a visual experience that somehow relates to their core spirituality. Most of us have a core spirituality, a core connection. It's either to Egypt, or it's to the Mayans, or it's to Native American cultures, or, where we feel we belong. And that is usually reflected in the chamber, but not always. Someone who's not visual doesn't have the visual experience and feels they're flat on their back, on their bed, or in their chair, maybe. It depends. And they have a more energetic experience. What is always the case is that people feel the energies. Even those people like me who are not quite as energy sensitive as, for example, you are, they feel the energies.
Yes. I completely understand, because when I did the initiation chamber with you, I literally saw myself entering an ancient Egyptian tomb-like structure, which, had like this cold stone slab. It was cold, though I was, in a place where it's pretty warm. I could feel the coldness of the slab, and as I lay on it and experienced the healing, it felt like I was in a different place, and it was just my consciousness that was in a different place. So just to clarify, it is not like a physical place, but it's a place that you go to, or your consciousness goes through to give you the healing that you require. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, okay. That's correct. I would call it, from the tradition where I come from, we call it the inner planes. That to me is a place on the inner planes. And it might have been, I was actually told by Sarah Bisbee that it used to be a physical place in the halls of Amenti.
Wow, okay.
And I seem to remember it, which is why I recall it so easily. And some other people might have been there as well. You don't know. I mean, we don't know for sure if we've been to that particular place in this past life. But I've had a couple of people in the chamber who said, I've been here before.
Wow.
And they had some special decorations, Some of them had special pillars, or they saw special candlelight or lanterns, or whatever was suitable for them, and make them feel good and made them feel home as well.
I remember very clearly the hieroglyphs on the walls, and the ornate way the walls were decorated with those paintings and stuff like that. So how does it work? Like, what does it do, the initiation chamber?
That is the question. What does it do? The one thing that always happens is there's a clearing. People are being cleansed and cleared. As soon as they are on the sarcophagus, they are cleansed with the platinum ray. The platinum ray is the frequency that I work on. That is the energy that I can control to a certain extent. So they're being cleansed with the platinum ray, which is high frequency light that it doesn't just clear and cleanse, it also transforms. Yeah. That's the quality of the platinum ray. And so they receive this clearing, and as they're being cleared, I can see their energy bodies. That is the visual that I'm given. And for me, that's the fascinating part, because I'm not per se an energy worker. I would never consider myself an energy worker. Someone like you is much more an energy worker than I am, because you see energies everywhere and you feel them everywhere. I don't.
Yeah.
I only see these things in the chamber, and I only am being shown what needs to be seen.
Yeah.
And so I can see the energy bodies, I can see the light body, and I can tell what stage of the light body process someone is in if I am to see that. And another thing is also that usually happens is that Metatron comes in. So this is how the healing part of the chamber started, actually, aside from the clearing. See, in the beginning, the sessions were a lot like, I call them sacred ascension journeys, because it was geared towards our ascension process. So we did a clearing, and we did soul retrieval, and we brought back soul fragments, and we did all the clearing of vows and all the stuff from the past to leave everything in the past and clear ourselves and lighten our burdens so we can be lighter in the ascension. And that shifted towards healing at some point. And that is usually initiated and triggered by Therapist Bay, who gives me guidance. It's not just me, it's also him giving me guidance. And when there's something that the platinum ray cannot take care of, we call a Metatron. We activate the Metatron field, and I can literally see the Metatron field as a field of energy come in. And it does something quite interesting, which I hadn't seen before. It sort of penetrates into the layers, the different energy bodies of a person, fills the person like with the aura, like everything, and kind of lifts out whatever needs to be lifted out. It's really beautiful to see.
Yes.
And people feel it. They can physically feel it.
Wow.
And so basically when you ask, okay, what happens in the chamber, a lot of things happen. It can be physical healing. It can be mental, emotional healing. Lots of things can be left in the past. Like a couple days ago, I had a session where I did an ancestral clearing with a client. And normally that is something that you can do with other methods as well.
Yes.
But in that particular case, I took the person to the chamber and I ran the platinum ray and I activated the Metatron field while I was doing the clearing of the ancestral lineage and the 7 generations. And it can be super powerful.
Wow. I'm sure people listening to this right now would be so excited to be a part of that initiation chamber. So I want to let you know that we have a free Zoom call on the 27th, which is next Sunday. Probably the last Sunday of the month. I'm going to tell you all the details in the end and how you can win a chance to be part of that free Zoom call and experience this initiation chamber for yourself. But before we get there, let's just know a little bit more about the initiation chamber. You did mention that a lot of clearing happens. People can release a lot of stuff that is not required in their lives any longer. You can also do ancestral lineage cleaning of anything that is blocking them from experiencing more of themselves. Is that correct?
Yes. And see, I'm in an altered state when I take people to the chamber. I am totally guided. I usually don't know what happens before. I am actually most fascinated by sessions when I have no idea what's going on with that person. I don't even want to know any stories. I don't want to know, what happened in the past or whatnot. Just enter the chamber with me and then we see. And whatever is needed in that moment, whatever that person and the soul needs, that takes place, that happens. And some of the fascinating moments that I personally loved most were some soul fragments being exchanged. And I think it's something that many people don't know in this time. Many light workers, star seeds, people who do, let's say, important work. We all do important work. Our being here is very important to the ascension process and everything going on this planet. But some of us are being prepared for different tasks. Many of us are being prepared to make a leap and change into a different field of work or into a different discipline or expand their consciousness to help people in a different way. And what I've seen happen in the chamber, especially over the past year, is that people are quite often given soul fragments.
Yes.
From either ascended masters, their guardian angels, ancestors coming back, and in some cases, even from previous incarnations where, we leave soul fragments, as you know, we leave soul fragments in older incarnations at times. And then, we can ask the question, is this old or new or current, or is it all parallel? But those were some of the most touching experiences, having Yeshua or Mary Magdalene or anyone of that magnitude entering the chamber and offering a small soul fragment to help that particular person on their journey to take the next step or move to the next level of consciousness. And that can be, it's sacred. To me, that work is sacred. The chamber is sacred. And I don't think I've ever had a session where I didn't cry and the client didn't cry. There's always lots of tears and lots of moving emotions.
Absolutely, because I still remember our session together, which we did last year, which was quite some time has passed. But we've been talking about this before the show, and I realized that we went in without any expectations. Like, I just wanted to experience the initiation chamber. I didn't know what to expect, and I was completely blown by the experience, because what happened was I not only received these fragments of my soul from other lifetimes and timelines and dimensions and such, I also had an experience where an ancient version of me, who was apparently just waiting for that session to integrate back into me, he just walked into the chamber, and we both were like, we didn't expect someone to walk in, and especially this ancient being that looked like he was almost like completely dead and was just like a one of those mummies you see, just walking into the chamber and just touching my leg and just integrating it into my right leg. And I suddenly felt like a surge of magical energy going through my body, and I felt more connected to my work, to what I was doing, and it just made me feel like, yes, I am a powerful being, and that I have had lifetimes where I have been doing this kind of work in a much greater magnitude, and one part of that has now integrated itself back into me, which was mind-blowing. I mean, there was no other way to explain it, right?
Yes.
I mean, it was not something that I was imagining. He just appeared out of nowhere. It was not even a fragment of my imagination. So that is wonderful. Do you have any other such fascinating things happening in the chamber?
Yes, I did. But I want to say something about that session that you just addressed, because what's really fascinating is that when the client or the person who's in the chamber has a certain amount of mediumship as well, that's of course when things get really interesting. Isn't it amazing and totally fascinating and magical that we both saw the same thing happen?
Yes.
I saw this person, you saw it, we had the same image. So that happens with a lot of clients, with more and more. It wasn't so much the case 2 years ago, but it happens more and more that clients see what I see. And that brings the magic, and it also adds a certain element of belief from the heart. When there was a trace of doubt, there might have been a trace of doubt. Oh, is this real? Because it can be a pretty bizarre experience for some people who are not so used to working on the inner planes like this. But it adds an element of magic,
Absolutely.
Sacred magic. And I find that fascinating and really beautiful. And yes, I've had, thank you for the question, I've had quite amazing experience, especially recently. Probably, the one thing that I haven't focused on myself is healing per se. I would also never call myself a healer at all. I'm of the faint opinion that everyone needs to heal themselves. I cannot heal anybody. But apparently I can hold space at a certain frequency where healing can take place when the person is ready and when the soul assists. And probably the most touching experience I had recently was a young woman, let's say 10 years my junior. Her doctors attested renal failure and liver failure to her. She was very close to that. Her blood work did not look good. And I didn't even have the word healing in my head. My intention was not healing. I wanted to see what her energies looked like when she came to me, because we worked with a frequency device on top of that as well. And I wanted to see what her energy bodies looked like so I would be on the right track and wouldn't overwhelm her with high frequencies. And And she received the healing. It was very obvious that after half an hour sitting in the Metatron field, she could suddenly breathe again. She said because of renal failure or renal damage and liver damage, her lungs were flooded with fluid and she couldn't breathe. She said, I have not been able to breathe in like half a year. It feels like I'm constantly drowning. And after half an hour, all of a sudden she starts crying. She goes, I can breathe. I can take a deep breath. And I could see it. I could see it at the base of her lungs. I could see the energy field and I could see the light come in. And it just totally, it was mind blowing. Wow. And it lasted. It's not like it wasn't a lasting experience. That was like a week ago. She's still doing really, really well.
That's amazing. I mean, just to see how things can shift just with a little bit of belief and a whole lot of magic. It's just amazing the way the initiation chamber works. So is it for everybody? Like anybody can get into the initiation chamber? Or is there like a criteria for people to experience this?
I really don't have a criteria because I know by experience that everyone is given what they need and no more that they can take. The energies can be quite powerful, and there can be something like a backlash in the beginning when the energies go really high up, and a person might experience more pain than before, but it usually gets better after a certain amount of time. I probably would be cautious. I never had that, but I would be cautious with someone who has a heart transplant, for example, or a device. What do you call that? A device that, a pacemaker. Thank you.
Okay.
Something like that, simply because I know by experience that the heart center is very much activated in this high frequency space. But other than that, I would have no reservations taking someone in unless my guides tell me strictly to say, no, that's not the right thing for you.
Okay. So if someone were to decide for themselves, what kind of questions should they ask themselves to know if this is something that they should do, the initiation chamber?
They probably want to ask themselves whether they are ready for an experience that might be completely new. And they need to be trusting, of course, because this is, I mean, let's be honest, this is not a method that I learned anywhere. There's no description for it. We don't know beforehand what's going to happen. All these people have is my experience and what I tell them and the feeling they have for me, looking at me and going, I can trust her or not.
Yes.
And if, let's say, if they look at me, if they watch this video and go, well, she looks like a nutcase, then that's probably not for you. But if there is a certain resonance, if there's a sympathy, then that is for a reason. Ask yourself, am I open for the new? And am I open to completely let go? Because the more you're able to let go as the person in the chamber, the more you're able to surrender, the more can happen.
Yes. Absolutely. I think you need to be ready for the transformative changes that the chamber is going to give you, because even if they're very subtle, they have a very lasting effect, and you will be able to notice this as you go forward. It's not something that you wake up and then you're like, whoa, I'm transformed. It's a very subtle thing. You start to feel good, and then it just begins to like kind of expand and grow, and you start accessing yourself more. It's because I feel like with my experience in the chamber that you somehow start getting in touch with yourself more, like you connect with yourself more. And that is quite an experience. And I think it's worth having that experience, So if people were to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you for such an experience?
Well, they can find me on my website, pagora.com. And you can post that and link that in the video. I know you will.
I will.
And I have a Telegram channel. I am not on any other social media. I am on Gap. I'm Gap Social as well, and we can link that. But I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. I avoid censorship media right now. But I can be found, and I have a website with a blog where I post on a regular basis about all kinds of stuff. And I'm usually very outspoken. I'm known to be outspoken. I don't hold back. It's usually a filter off for me.
Yeah. And I'm sure they can reach you on Telegram. I think that's the easiest way to get in touch with you, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And thank you for mentioning that, Teja. I'm really grateful for that last bit of information you brought through, because it really is like that. It was my secret hope in the beginning, and I wasn't so sure if that was actually true. But my secret hope was that people would be connected with themselves more, and it would be a lasting effect. And of course, that is nothing that you feel and experience the next day or the next week.
Yes.
But it's a little bit like QHHT as well, as we know. You know, when I had my first QHHT session like 3-4 years ago, it took like 1.5 years for something to actually happen or sink in to my consciousness that I was told and had experienced in that session. It's a little bit like that too. So it's quite profound, but it might be that in the moment, it doesn't feel that profound at all.
Yes. It's very subtle. Like it's basically like energy work. Energy is never in your face. It's very soft. It's very subtle, and that's exactly how this experience in the initiation chamber is. It's beautiful, and I think you should all give it a shot. And just for you, Petra is giving a free Zoom session for 12 lucky people. She can hold space for only 12 people at a time. And we are doing this on the 27th of February, which is the last Sunday of February at 6 p.m. Indian Standard Time. I'm going to give all the details below, but all you need to do to win a spot on that free Zoom to enter the initiation chamber that we've been talking about now is to just let us know why you need healing. What do you want healed? What is it that you want to change about yourself? Emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever it is, give us a valid reason for us to choose you, to put you in the initiation chamber, to have this mind-blowing experience for yourself. So comment away below, and we will choose 12 people on the 27th for the free Zoom call, and we will put you all in the initiation chamber. I mean, Petra's going to do that. I'm just going to be there to watch. But I can tell you that it's going to be a very beautiful, amazing experience. So comment away, tell us why you need healing, and we will choose you in the initiation chamber. And I will announce the winners, or kind of call you directly and give you the Zoom link to be part of for the free Zoom on 27th. Anything else you would like to add, Petra, before we close? Anything that people need to keep in mind before they have such an experience?
The only thing I would say is it's a sacred experience. It's a sacred space. It's a sacred experience. If you're open to that, send a prayer, open yourself up for healing of any kind, or maybe some crazy experience, some wild ride, who knows?
Yes.
And just show up. I've never held space for 12 people. The max I had in the chamber was 10 people, but my guides told me I could do 12 now. So I'm all up for the challenge, and I'm very excited about it and very grateful for you opening up that opportunity, because I normally work in the German language sector. You know, I'm German, and I haven't had much exposure in the English language sector. So this will be a first, but I'm super excited about it.
And I'm also super excited about the initiation chamber ritual. I would want to call it ritual that we're going to do on the 27th of February. And thank you so much for giving us so much information about the initiation chamber, and for an opportunity to people to choose this kind of healing, you know, to let them know that there are things like this that they can choose from to heal themselves and feel much better about their life's journey, their physical purpose on earth. Thank you so much for joining me on Spiritual Tea.
The gratitude is on me, Teja. Always a pleasure.
We will see you all again soon in another episode of Spiritual Tea. Until then, love, light, and magic.